basically, until 20 some odd years or so ago, there were no provisions for pensions for retirees. So any money that went out by way of pension payments came from the annual operating budget. So there was no accounting for what were guaranteed to be future liabilities. And the state had a liability. It's like if you're not putting money aside now for the roof repair you know you're going to have to do in 20 years, you're going to be in trouble in 20 years. You're not going to have the money to do that. And the general, what is it, GASB, General Accounting Standards Bureau of the federal government said that when the state and local governments are taking into account their responsibilities, they damn well better know that these pensions are coming and not pretend they're not coming. So the liability is the amount of money that we should have been setting aside every year to allow for people in the future to retire. So that's the liability.
You would have lost that money anyway, then.
The why not on the stock market? Right? The why not just fix the problem once is because it's a huge problem. We can't fix it at once. Just as an example, the healthcare liability that we're now looking at is somewhere between $7 and $13 billion. That's somewhere between 25 and 50% of the annual state budget. We can't just take away a 25 or 50% of our budget and put it aside for that. So we've got to, what we did with pension liability was set ourselves on a 40-year schedule to pay down that liability bit by bit over 40 years, and I'm hoping we'll do something comparable with the
So we have unfunded liability on the healthcare side and on the pension side.
That's correct.
And then the healthcare side.
We are on track, by the way, to pay off the healthcare the pension liability.
So on the healthcare side, basically the private sector has been having to accrue for this since the early 90s, and that's been pretty common knowledge, but the state government and local government's been able to avoid that for these many years, and now with GASB, how they have to. Why does it come to that? Why doesn't our leaders realize that this is an issue that's coming down the pike, and why does it take almost more than a decade to realize that this is an issue? And that's the healthcare side, and then of course there's the pension side too.
The very legitimate question for which I don't have a particularly good answer, other than to say for every dollar that we allocate to something in the budget, that's a dollar that's not going to another public service. And Will and I can attest to this. The dollars going into environmental protection, to road and bridge repair, to caring for the most vulnerable amongst us, to education reform. We could spend every dollar we've got 4 times over and not feel like we have enough. And in the immediacy of some of those needs, we've kind of gotten seduced into pretending the problem is going to get solved some other way.